But our top story tonight, Thanksgiving turns tragic for a Houston family.
I can remember like it was yesterday.
Just complete and utter shock.
What started as a Thanksgiving family get-together.
When you're just living your life and enjoying life, you don't realize that in an instant it can all change.
Kristen never showed up for the family gathering. Her parents knew something was wrong, so they drove here to her apartment and found Kristen brutally murdered in her own bedroom.
We went out in the courtyard and he said, somebody called the police, someone's murdered my daughter.
Kristen Wilson, hardworking, beautiful, driven, newly single. She had been strangled, left naked, and it was how her killer attacked, planning, orchestrating. That's every woman's nightmare.
He was probably already watching her.
Do you think the person who killed Kristen is someone she knew?
Yes, I do. I do.
She tried so hard to remove herself from that situation, but it wasn't enough.
Honestly, I think that these men held her back.
25 years ago, two men willingly gave their DNA to police, clearing their names. But now, science is better, and investigators are taking another look.
Right now, everybody's a suspect.
And Kristen's family is digging through their own records.
So this is the funeral book.
Oh, wow.
Excellent.
And it has a list of names.
Oh, wow. There
Excellent.
we go.
Uncovering relationships they didn't know about, finding Kristen's journal, her own voice, her deepest secrets divulged.
Oh, that last entry is very telling.
There's these undertones of violence in there that aren't spoken to directly.
You know, if these cases were easy, they would have been solved back then.
Boyfriends, friends, we have to step up and say, prove me wrong that you didn't do it.
Who killed Kristen Wilson? This is Unsolved.
Well, she was a beacon of light. Anybody who ever met her loved her. I mean, there's no one who knew her that didn't think she was wonderful.
Kristen was the purest soul that you could ever meet. Birthdays, Christmas, Easter, she would send cards for everything. I've got a stack of letters that she sent me through the years. She was a letter writer. She was kind of always in your business. It was phone calls, letters. Her personality was just larger than life.
Kristen Wilson put other people first, always. Her parents, her sisters, her co-workers. It didn't matter who, really. Kristen was happiest when people she cared about were taken care of. At 29, most of us are focused on ourselves. Most of us are just trying to figure it all out. Not Kristen. She already knew what she wanted in life, to be her own boss. Back in '96, Kristen had just started her own administrative business, secretarial contract work. Didn't ask her family for a dime to get it off the ground.
Whatever she decided she wanted to try, she did, and she always excelled. It didn't make any difference what it was.
And she could make $1 go further than you can even imagine. She had very little money, but she was still able to start the business, support herself, stay in the apartment, and still buy gifts for her family and friends.
She bought me a ring for my birthday, and she hid it in the house. And then she put little notes around the house for me to track down this ring.
That was Kristen. Her sisters have a million stories like this. Kristen was the middle of the three Wilson girls, the blonde-haired, brown-eyed beauty.
The most I remember is us growing up and just running the streets and having fun and just playing outside with all of our friends. We learned to ride skateboards together or ride our bikes together because we were so close.
We weren't as close as Kimberly and Kristen were.
Yeah.
But as we got older, my memory of her was the summer of '96. We went to San Antonio and we just had a blast, just enjoying the river walk and things like that. But I'm glad that I was blessed to be able to spend that time with her, because just a few short months she was gone.
Well, everybody was gathering at my mom's house at 2 o'clock is when everybody was supposed to be there. And everybody was, but Kristen, she wasn't there. By 2:30, she wasn't there. You have an uneasy feeling about that anyway. You know, traveling all the way from Katie to her apartments, you start feeling on edge, you know. And I saw her car in the parking lot. I thought, well, she's still here. And so we walked around to the front of her apartment and knocked on the door like I normally would. I turned the doorknob. I said, Kristen? And I walked around to the left to the kitchen, and Bob went around right to her bedroom, and she was on the floor. He was just hysterical.
She's lying down on the floor, on her back. She's not fully nude, but partially nude from the waist down, and her clothes were pulled up from her top.
And so I took a blanket off her bed and I covered her. And the police asked, who did this? I said, I did. I said, she needs some dignity. I wasn't supposed to do that, but I had covered her because I thought she was just, you know.
Because as a mother, to see that.
You're not supposed to do things like that, but I didn't care.
As police arrived at Kristen's apartment, her mother, Barbara, called the rest of the family, just as they were about to sit down to Thanksgiving dinner.
I was actually the one that picks up the phone when we got the phone call.
And then Tyler handed me the phone. And then I remember my dad saying, Kim, it's bad. Kristen's dead. And I'm like,
I just have this vivid memory of like the phone dropping and like all hell breaking loose around us.
He says I dropped the phone. I don't even remember dropping the phone.
You could tell that the world was never really going to be the same, and it wasn't after that.
Kristen fought hard, breaking her fingernails as the killer strangled her. Her clothing had either been ripped or cut off. To police, it quickly became clear someone had been waiting for Kristen, waiting with a plan. These crime scene photos, never seen by the public until now, reveal the frightening steps Kristen's killer took, making sure she couldn't get away. Cutting her phone cord, unscrewing her light bulbs, keeping the place dark had Kristen flipped the switch, and slipping in through her window, loosening the screen by reaching through a cat door, hiding until Kristen walked in. There was something else eerie, the way the killer left Kristen's body. Her legs crossed at the ankles, her hands laid in her lap.
The possibility of her being staged popped into my head. Now, I'm not saying that's what exactly happened.
Just because of the way her arms or her legs?
Just because of the way her legs were positioned. All the murders that I've had where the victim was sexually assaulted, the legs were apart. You know, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. This particular case, they weren't.
25 years ago, investigators here on scene thought Kristen had been raped. But when her rape kit came back, no trace of anyone else's DNA was there. What's more, Detective Richard Rodriguez says that during the autopsy, two medical examiners had very different opinions. One thought she had been sexually assaulted, the other did not.
We know lab testing in the 90s was not what it is today. A sweater Kristen had been wearing, her pants, that phone cord also got tested. Same thing, no DNA breakthroughs, no fingerprints found. The investigation stalled.
Well, it's been almost 25 years. No one knows anything, and since this is a cold case, and I talked to you several times, and I thought, I could do this.
Not easy.
No. I try not to get emotional about it. I'm sorry if I do. But, you know, everything that led up to when we found her, I can remember like it was yesterday.
Barbara, who has never spoken publicly about her daughter's case, is ready now.
This is the second to last one.
Partly because of Tyler, her nephew.
Is this it?
Yep.
All right.
He doesn't really remember his cousin. He was 5 when Kristen was murdered. But he remembers growing up without her.
25 years of getting together for Christmases and Thanksgiving and holidays, like, there's always this hole, right? Definitely keep that.
So Tyler started digging.
Oh, wow.
Started asking Barb and Kristen's sisters tough questions.
We'll go through one by one.
Which led us all here to this storage unit, where Kristen's past has been locked away for years.
Here, let's take these out, Barbara. Let's take all these out. Actually, the reason I'm pushing for answers is just to bring that closure, to bring that understanding, right? Like, Kristen's dad, Bob, died before he got answers. He never knew what happened to his daughter, and that's not okay, right? Like, this case, we have all of the pieces there to solve this thing. So we definitely want to pull this box out in a second.
Some of those pieces are in these boxes, Tyler believes.
This one looks promising. This is a bunch of papers.
One box in particular. It holds Kristen's journal, her secrets.
We're hoping that the diary gives us some clues into what she was thinking leading up to her death.
That's a real recent thing for me, because
Barb says she never read it, just packed it away after Kristen's murder. Back then it was too painful to open. But now?
Is this it? Does that look familiar?
Yes.
They want Kristen's version of how things were going back in '96. This diary is invaluable.
And hopefully this is that last piece.
For decades, Tyler has wondered if Kristen's case could be solved, watching it happen for other families of cold case victims, hearing about it on podcasts and on TV. Why not for the Wilsons?
The more I listened to those sorts of stories and understood how those cases were being solved, I think that's what really clicked in my mind, right? Like, that's the point where I said, maybe it's not impossible to solve. Like, maybe the answers are waiting for us. We just need to push to uncover them.
October 14th, 1993, Kristen wrote,
And that moment was the very beginning of the 2 months of hell that I have been going through.
A lot for Barbara to take in. 3 years after that diary entry, Kristen would be dead.
I didn't know a lot of the things that she wrote. I did not know.
Kristen's diary was her safe place, her secret space. Sure, she wrote about the everyday fun stuff, a crawfish boil in April, camping over Memorial Day weekend, a new apartment, new job. But there were also dark times, unfiltered thoughts, worries over a boyfriend, Ted. The two moved in back in '92. Things started off okay, but the following year, Kristen started journaling Ted was drinking too much, taking sleeping pills, acting out of control. Their relationship had changed. October '93, arriving back in Houston from a trip out of town. Quote, I couldn't believe that he couldn't be sober to pick me up. We fought a lot the first couple of days, then hardly spoke for weeks. It was just too much to deal with. The next month, quote, Ted and I had another bad fight about a week and a half ago. It was about the same things, mostly his drinking. It's not getting any better. Right now, it seems as though he's pretending that everything is all right. She goes on, if this doesn't work out with Ted, I don't think I'll ever live with another person unless I'm married. It's just too difficult to get out of a relationship when you live with someone.
And this is just what we know about. So, I mean, I fear for those things that we don't know about, right? Like, what else did she have to endure at his hand that she never felt comfortable writing down or telling someone? And we'll never know.
There is someone who does know more. Sam Udall, Kristen's best friend. Barbara was his father's secretary. Kristen and Sam had a special relationship. Before Ted, she visited Sam overseas when he lived in Switzerland. Sam gave her this journal.
I'll be.
And he hadn't seen it since then.
Wow. She's talking about starting a family in here.
Yeah. She's talking about a lot of things in here.
Oh, and she's talking about Ted.
Had she talked about any of her problems with Ted to you ever?
Not really. I think she knew that I didn't really approve of Ted. I thought that she was better than Ted, but I don't remember giving her a lot of advice on this. I felt sad that she was in that relationship.
In that journal, Kristen had confessed she liked Sam more than just friends. The two had a brief affair, but in the end, she stayed with Ted.
I think that she wanted to always try to make everything better. You know, Kristen would rescue a kitty. She would rescue a dog. I mean, she rescued people that she perceived needed her help. And I think that's probably was the case. She had a rescue operation going with this guy, and she just stayed in it.
Do you think he had anything to do with her death?
It's crossed my mind. I feel like sometimes that she had an, maybe not, but maybe she had an argument with somebody that she knew real well, Ted, or got angry, and she was a little thing. It wouldn't have taken much to knock her to the floor and just snuff the life out of her.
Kristen's secrets stayed in this journal. But there was one time, Barbara says, Kristen told her something alarming.
She told me she had locked herself in her bathroom to get away from Ted. And I was horrified. I said, "Did you call the police?" And she said, "No." I said, "Why didn't you call the police?"
Was he threatening her? Was she running from him? What did she tell you?
I don't recall what she said.
Kristen dumped Ted 1.5 years before she was killed, moved out, and that breakup did not go well, according to Barb.
I remember that day when she called me and she said, "Mom, Ted is following me in the car. I don't know what to do." And I said, "Come here." I said, "Come here to the office." I said, "Stay here for a while or as long as you want." I said, "I will not let the security guards let him in." She probably was scared of him because she felt like that he was following her all the time. And that's frightening.
If that guy was doing that before she was murdered, that he's establishing a certain way of acting that you can say, "Hey, look, guy, she left you, she was done with you, you couldn't take it, and you kept going forward and moving and trying to get back what you lost." Yeah, there's a little bit of suspicion there. But is it clear cut? Is that something I can charge the guy with? No, you need more than that, but it helps. It helps.
Detective Rodriguez says there's record of Ted stalking Kristen. Ted's family told us they knew about it too. The next guy, another one of Kristen's secrets.
He worked in the same office building that she did, and they got to be very friendly, and I think he was smitten with her, and she probably was with him because he's Scottish and personal, but he was also married. And being the mother, I'd say, this isn't going to be a good situation. If he's giving you excuses of why he's going to stay married, I said, it's not going to work.
A wealthy Scottish businessman, about 20 years Kristen's senior. No mention of him in that journal. Kristen started seeing Alistair after Ted was out of the picture, about a year before she was murdered.
I mean, he could charm the horns off a billy goat. He was like that.
But there was something about Alistair that her mom and sisters didn't trust.
Because no one knew about him. I didn't know she was dating a married man, and her and I were closer that last year than anybody. She was scared of somebody because she was fixing to move.
I always was kind of leery because he did so many things in her memory, I guess you could say, but you always wondered why would somebody do this?
After Kristen's death, Barb says Alistair offered to pay for most of Kristen's funeral. The family was surprised, but accepted. He was a pallbearer, too. Then, a few months later, Barb says Alistair also paid to have a shed built for them. A gift, she says, he told them. A woodworking shop for Kristen's dad.
Is it because he loved Kristen, or was he trying to make up for something?
Why would he pay for everything? Why would he pay for the headstone? Why would somebody do that unless they're guilty? And why won't he talk to anybody? If you're not guilty, step up and say, "I'm not guilty." But we have to take those steps and make sure that everybody that was in her life, boyfriends, friends, we have to step up and say, prove me wrong that you didn't do it. If you didn't do it, I'll apologize. But first you gotta tell me why I shouldn't think it's you.
The stories about ex-lovers, the diary entries, the gifts are one thing, but that's not what solves cold cases. Evidence does. That's what police need, and they may already have it.
We can't compare what we can do now to what they were doing back then.
Ted, Alistair, and Sam were the men in Kristen's life. So back in '96, detectives asked all three of them to give their DNA. And this might surprise you. They all agreed. In fact, they showed up at the police department the very same day to get swabbed. Sam remembers it well.
3 of us sat out in that waiting room. We didn't look at each other. We didn't talk to each other. Because I'm looking at these 2 guys thinking, could it be one of these guys? I just knew that neither one of them had a positive effect on her life overall. And I didn't like that at all.
Did any of them say anything to you?
Not really. No, because they both knew me and neither one of them liked me very much. It's like, why is Sam still in Kristen's life?
What was the energy like in that room?
It was tense.
Yeah.
It was tense. It was tense between those 2. Because I think those 2 knew more about each other than they knew about me.
In the end, none of their DNA was found on Kristen or on any evidence collected. But here's the thing. No unknown DNA profiles were found on Kristen at all, which is hard to believe considering how she was killed.
I mean, you think about it. You're strangling somebody. There's a lot of passion that goes in that. I mean, there's a lot of physical contact.
Remember, 25 years ago, DNA technology was in its infancy, not what it is today.
So I'm not going to sit here and say all those individuals that they collected samples from are cleared. All I'm going to say is just that we can't prove that any one of those had anything to do with what happened to Kristen.
Science has improved, and now some of the evidence collected from Kristen's crime scene is back in the lab for new testing. And Detective Rodriguez recently discovered some of the items from the murder scene were never tested at all. In '96, investigators first focused on lifting fingerprints. That cut phone cord, the screen window, scissors possibly used to cut Kristen's clothing, those items were checked for prints, not DNA.
So it's possible that if you now find DNA profiles on new pieces of evidence, like on Kristen's sweater, it could match to somebody whose DNA you already have.
Oh, sure. There's a possibility. If it were Ted, like I said, we don't know that for sure, but if it were, and the DNA says, hey, look, it's this guy, we already have his DNA profile, or we already have a sample from him on file. So it's not going to be difficult to compare the unknown that we get to him. And if it matches him, boom, there it is. Okay, now there's still a little bit more work to do. It's not a slam dunk, but guess what? It's a damn good amount of evidence against him.
Who do you think killed Kristen? Was it a stranger? Was it someone in her life?
I think it was probably somebody that saw her over and over going into that complex and decided that he was just going to follow her in one day.
Kristen's family and friends each have their own speculations about who did it. Was it someone she knew? Was it a stranger?
The wrong profile can point you in the wrong direction.
Criminology professor Dr. Cleet Snell says while you have to be careful constructing and interpreting a killer's profile, there are details in Kristen's case that show us the type of person it could be.
We know that most homicides are interpersonal types of cases. They're people who know each other.
She would have been fighting if it was strangulation, and it was like her legs were perfectly placed, crossed. What does that say?
The killer could have been leaving a message in this case.
And Kristen's killer has traits of a psychopath.
You know, people have gotten obsessed to the point that they start following the person. They They'll watch their habits and what they're doing. Somebody who has a psychopathic personality can turn that deadly. Being rejected can remind them of prior rejection in their life, and that can turn to anger. What stuck out to me was that she had recently broken up with, or she had a relationship with someone that ended. And that would be where my, first lead would go in terms of investigation.
He's somebody that's, you could label as a person of interest. Not a suspect as of yet, but definitely a person of interest given his behaviors, given the type of relationship they had, given what he did as far as showing up to her apartment complex.
DNA and evidence is what will solve this case. But all the evidence in the world won't necessarily explain why. Why would someone want Kristen dead? Her sisters, her mother, can't go another 25 years without that answer.
You can't just let it go. It's because that person could be doing it to somebody else or has done it to somebody else. And you don't want to let them get away with it, not with my family member and not with somebody else's. They can't get away with it.
In one of Kristen's final diary entries, she wrote, quote, "I know my life is somewhat stagnant right now, but in my heart of hearts, I feel there will soon be a change for the better. I know that I am capable of great things and that these great things are just around the corner. Everyone wants to leave some type of legacy behind, to be remembered for something special, and with a little bit of luck, I will be remembered for my writing."
Oh, man. Yeah.
What do you think when you hear that?
Just the life that was never lived, right? She had so much promise. And I think she got stuck. I think all of us can look back on our life and we were with one person too long. Why didn't we leave sooner? Why didn't we learn that lesson sooner? And I think for her, honestly, I think that these men held her back. And I think that she allowed that. I think if she could have broken out from that, there's no telling what she could have done.
But her legacy is that she loved everybody. If you were Kristen's friend, you were a very lucky human being. Her friendship and her love of family.
You think about her every day?
Yes, I do. When I see my children, they never got to know their Aunt Kristen. We'd go by the cemetery, drive by, and I'd say, "Blow kisses to Aunt Kristen. Blow kisses to the sky." That's all they have of her is our family's memories.
Kristen is everywhere, especially at Christmas. It would be easy to let dark thoughts take over that time of year, another holiday marking the anniversary of her murder. But no, the Wilsons celebrate and give thanks under the stockings that Kristen made for each one of them 25 years ago.
These traditions that still exist to this day are because of her and her ability to influence those and take care of those around her. And I think every time you see those stockings, like a part of you thinks of her and thinks of her love for the family, right? Like there's like 35 stockings, that's a lot of work.
Tyler didn't have long with Kristen, didn't really know her.
Do you have any idea what the box looks like that might have it?
But he's the one pushing police, going through the boxes, motivating Kristen's mom and sisters to return to that painful place they packed away decades ago.
How do you stay on detectives? How do you keep this case from falling to the bottom of the pile?
I think we owe it to Kristen to keep pushing, right? Like at the end of the day, no one else is going to do it for us. No one else has the motivation. So there's dozens, hundreds probably of cold case files sitting there. And in some way, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? And now I have like a monthly check-in where I just have a reminder on my calendar.
Thank God for Tyler, because he's the one that's, done all this and kept it moving along.
I think we found a really cool one of Kristen back in 1976. I think it brings me closer to her in a way of actually getting to know her, but it also like is so sad because you see that there's so much hope and thirst for life and optimism and ambition that just never gets to become real.
I love that diary because it is her. It is her. She's not holding back anything in that diary. Some things I didn't know, but that's what diaries are for. They're not supposed to be, you know, for anyone to look at or read, unless they've gone, you know. It's almost like she's sitting next to you and she's saying those words. That's what it's like.
She brightened our life when she was here. And the fact that we're still talking about this 25 years later, that's a pretty powerful force. That it's not just an obituary, it is she was sunshine and happiness everywhere she went. She brightened your life when she met you. And 25 years later, if you're still talking about that, that's a heck of a legacy in my mind.
25 years is a long time. Kristen's smile is frozen in time. She'll always be that bubbly, charming, engaging girl that everyone loved. That won't change. But the technology to find her killer has. For Detective Rodriguez, time marching on is his favorite thing about cold case investigations. You never know who ends up tired of keeping secrets.
I love ex-girlfriends. I love ex-wives, ex-husbands, ex-boyfriends. Because when they were in a relationship back then, they're loyal. They're not going to give them up. But when that relationship breaks, guess what? They're not that loyal anymore.
And you know, of all the crummy people that are walking around loose, you know, people who commit crimes and murder people and everything. And I said, and God takes somebody like her. And I try not to get angry about it. It's just one of life's tragedies. And I'd like for whoever did this to pay the price.
Kristen Wilson would have been 54 years old today, maybe running her own business, still journaling all her hopes and dreams. Her mother thinks so. Her sisters imagine she would have gotten married, had children. We'll never know what could have been, but the Wilsons deserve to know what was. What happened to Kristen Wilson? If you know anything about her case, call police. I'm Courtney Fisher. This is Unsolved.